definition of human rights in terms of theory and functions has been broad and varied as essential by people around the world. According to the United Nations, human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. It also includes the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and of expression, the right to work and education, and many more without discrimination. Throughout history, ideas of ethical behavior, justice, and human dignity have evolved and are deeply rooted in the ancient civilizations of Babylon, China, and India. It began with Cyrus the Great in 539 BC, triumphing over Babylon, freeing all slaves from war, and declaring that people should choose their religion, thus leaving a time-honored clay table known as Cyrus Cylinder as the first charter of human rights. Still, they contributed to laws of Greek and Roman society and are central to Buddhist, Christian, Confucian, Hindu, Islamic, and Jewish teachings, making the world's all major religions have a humanist perspective that supports human rights, despite the differences in contents. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the evolution of modern human rights took place in social progress. For example, in the abolition of slavery, the widespread provision of education, and the extension of political rights. But international activity on human rights remained weak when other countries had no basis for intervening or even raising concern when rights were violated. The United Nations was built to ensure protection and prevent further conflict all around the world. The fact of public demands for human rights, however, is undeniable. This might be attributed to the fact that human rights have become increasingly interwoven with modern global issues. That is to say, while injustice and abuses of human rights persist throughout the world, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights remains more of a pipe dream than a reality. Even after 60 years, as we can see, the protection and equality that the new human rights norm offers to several minorities, including feminists and the LGBTQ+ group, may eventually be detrimental to human morality.
All people have intrinsic rights which are unaffected by factors such as nationality, place of residence, gender, ethnicity, race, religion, or any other status. Without exception, each one of us has a right to our human rights. However, these rights are not an absolute freedom, and the limitation of them must be considered. These limitations are required in order to ensure the common interests of society are protected and maintained. Sexual disorders and gender issues, specifically in lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LGBT community, are not new issues. Allah has explained the homosexual issues that plague the people of Lut. Homosexuality is clearly a heinous act as mentioned in Surah Al-Araf, verses 18 to 84. This verse clearly describes how the people of Lut suffer from sexual disorder in which they have a proclivity for sexual intercourse with partners of the same gender. In other words, between men and between women and women. The story of the people of Lut must be understood by all humans as it clearly proves how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an absolute power and everything in this world is under His rule.
One of the cases that relates with this particular matter is Ibu Putra bin Mubarak and Kerajaan Negeri Selangor. The case shows that the petitioner was charged in Selangor Syariah Court under Section 28 of the Syariah Criminal Offences Selangor Enactment 1995 for trying to engage in sexual activity with some other men who were non-Muslims. This section states that it is illegal to engage in sexual behavior against the laws of nature. Moreover, this section also finds the similarity with the Penal Code, Section 377A, which says that any individual inserting the penis into the mouth or the anus is considered to be engaging in carnal intercourse. Thus, this particular case contradicts the natural order of Islam as both parties are considered as LGBTQ members, which falls under gay category.
Most of us do not agree about the word torture and the action of torture itself. We can see the word torture according to Article 1 of Convention Against Torture and Article 3 of Human Rights Act 1998. We can see the child abuse case in the case of Ribi, allegation of sexual abuse, child's evidence, and the mistreatment of disabled individuals in the case of United States and Chicago Baseball Holdings, LLC, and Wrigley.
From Islamic perspective, sexual abuse is considered as committing zina, which can carry death sentence, life in jail or whipping, and those who are aware of it should deal with the offense. In Surah An-Nisa, verse 135, Muslim who witnesses any wrongdoing should speak up in favor of justice. Under Islam, people with disabilities were acclaimed by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. In a hadith narrated by Hadith Riwayat Muslim, Allah said to His servants that He, the Almighty, doesn't look at our body, nor our face, but our hearts.
Women's rights and gender equality are the regular issues that are often brought up while discussing human rights. This is due to discriminations that are faced by women back in time. Women do not have the right to choose their spouses and shall act like a trophy wife. In modern day society, this outdated mindset is slowly fading and women are given the right equal to men. The existence of the Conventions Against All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, and the fact that gender equality is a part of Sustainable Development Goal highlighted by the United Nations illustrate that these matters are taken seriously in the international level. While discussing this matter in Islamic perspective, Islam does acknowledge that men and women are equal in a way. It was mentioned in verse 124 of Surah An-Nisa, which mentions that men and women are equal in good deeds. There are many others verses of Al-Quran that regard men and women as equal. Thus, it is clear that Islam promotes the equality of people in spiritual affairs, religious, worship, economic, and social-political rights, and other areas without discrimination. It means not discriminating against anyone and treating them equally as far as the basic human rights are concerned. However, Islam does not endorse the absolute gender equality, which suggests men and women shall be treated the same. In Islamic perspective, the right for both genders are granted equally, but not identically. This is due to the difference in nature of both genders. As mentioned in Surah Al-Imran verse 36, it is clearly apparent from these facts that Islam recognizes gender equality to some extent, but since both genders are unique and meant to complement each other, it does not support treating them in identical manner. Allah has created both men and women with their own unique speciality. Therefore, treating men and women with the same treatment may result in injustice as both genders are different in nature.
The point that can be clarified at the very outset is that when we speak of human rights in Islam, we really mean that these rights have been granted by God. From an Islamic standpoint, human rights are seen as a gift from God and as a fundamental component of the moral and ethical system defined in the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. There are a few principles that has been highlighted in the Islamic perspective on human rights. The core principles of equality and dignity are essential and interrelated in the framework of human rights. Regardless of color, nationality, or financial status, all people are created equal and have inherent dignity because in God's view, they are all came from Adam and Eve. The belief that treating everyone equally and fairly is a necessary part of acknowledging and preserving each person's dignity, which is the basis for the relationship between equality and dignity. Next, the right to life demonstrates how firmly Islam defends the worth of life, forbids the taking of innocent life, and views the preservation of life as a basic obligation. When it comes to human rights and ethical issues, justice and fairness are fundamental concepts. It has been emphasized in every element of life, assuring everyone receives equitable treatment, which implies individuals have a right to be treated fairly and that justice must be administered impartially. Moreover, Islam supports treating both genders equally and upholding the rights and dignity of women while respecting the physiological and psychological distinctions between men and women. Discrimination is prohibited on the basis of gender, ethnicity, and other characteristics establishing an inclusive community. However, there is limitation to its human right that is granted according to Islamic teaching. Therefore, LGBTQ community is going against the rules outlined by Al-Quran.